Welcome to this emergency edition of the Doves Talk podcast. We have breaking news here. Monte, Poole, our Warriors insider here at NBC Sports Bay Area, the Hall of Famer. And Petaluma's finest is joining us today, our Warriors reporter here at NBC Sports Bay Area, Dalton Johnson. I am Bonta Hill. And as always, before we get to the meat of the show, as always, we're brought to you by Mancini Sleep World. Every mattress is backed by our Rest Easy promise of a 365-night comfort guarantee with the lowest prices and next day delivery. Visit sleepworld.com. That is sleepworld.com. Don't forget, get terror-free savings and get 40% off top brands like Beauty Rest and Sealy. And fellas, we're going to sleep good tonight because we're going to be up all day talking about Jonathan Kuminga as he finally agreed to a 2-year, $48 million deal to return to the Golden State Warriors, a team option in the second year, as sources have confirmed to our very own Dalton Johnson. Of course, first reported by ESPN's Shams Charania. He's eligible for a trade January 15th. There's a lot to get into with this deal here. So, Monte, I'll start with you. The Warriors and JK finally come to an agreement on the first day of training camp. You should be in tomorrow, and we could put this behind us. But why now? Why now? And why the 2-year, $48 million deal?
Well, neither side really wanted to deal with the qualifying offer. You know, although Aaron Turner, JK's agent, you know, he put that thread out there a while back. But, I mean, come on, the qualifying offer is less than $8 million. And they didn't want to do that. And the Warriors definitely didn't want to do it because it would lock them out of a contract slot that they could use to get a quality player. So the urgency was on both sides. But I think I don't think the Warriors ever believed that they would take the qualifying offer in the first place. I think they always felt like there's a way to get this to avoid the qualifying offer, which was their priority. And for them to just bump up the money a little bit from the $45 million initially, that got it done. And I think if you're Kuminga, you know, it's like you're getting paid more money than you've ever had before right now. And you will have some, at worst, you will be an unrestricted free agent as soon as next summer. The Warriors can actually trade him before then. So, yeah, I think when you look at what happened here, I think the Warriors, I think they got the better of the deal in the long run.
Dalton, get in here.
Jonathan Kuminga also did turn down the 3-year, $75 million contract offer that the Warriors had on the table with a team option on the third-year deal because he believes that'll get him to his end goal of being a free agent sooner than later. He wanted to have that security and be able to kind of control his own destiny sooner than later instead of having to keep it in the Warriors' hands. So, yeah, at the end of the day, it felt like enough is enough from both sides. Let's put business to the side, put pen to paper, and let's get to basketball sooner than later because at this point, guys, we have a preseason game on Sunday. It's go time. First training camp practice happened today. It's time for everyone to get together and make basketball the main priority.
You know, that was a vibe for me that I sensed at Media Day, fellas, that, look, they understand the business. Everybody from Steph to Draymond to Jimmy to Paz, even Jonathan Kuminga. And what you just said there, Dalton, it is go time. And what you don't want to do is this has lingered all summer long. And I understand both sides of it. Warriors have him as a restricted free agent. They want, hey, we want to have this control and give you the team option. JK's like, hey, I want freedom because I don't know if there's a guarantee that I'm going to play the minutes that I want to play. So I understand the stalemate on both sides of this thing. But once you get the basketball and once you hit the court to get ready for a whole new season, with Steph here, who's a 4-time champ, Draymond's a 4-time champ, Jimmy's trying to get a ring, Podge is trying to find his way in this league and make that third-year leap. Moses Moody saying, hey, I got confidence. I finally got some run last year. I want to play. You kind of owe it to the team to say, all right, I just got to do what I got to do to get on the court and help these guys because that's the last thing you want in this league for any team in any sport. Is you don't want to linger and be that guy that's not coming to training camp. And then everybody else has got to answer questions about you. And they're in an uncomfortable spot. So I'm glad that it got done here because you're right, DJ. It is go time, but very interesting. Again, I want to harp on this, Monte. The team option designed for the contract to be ripped up and renegotiated next summer. I'm with you here that the Warriors kind of won the posturing here with the team option. However, for JK, even if he gets traded before January 15th or after January 15th, the fact that the deal could be ripped up and he can renegotiate a new deal is a win for JK as well.
No doubt about it. I mean, I think that's the part that appealed to him in addition to the money, is that he can be an unrestricted free agent before he's 24 years old. And so that's the control he wanted. He gets more money than he thought he was going to get, than he would have gotten with a qualifying offer, more money than the Warriors' initial offer. Now, once we see how the contract is actually structured, we'll see how much the Warriors have, how far they are under the second apron in terms of future roster moves. But when you look at JK, what he got, I think there's enough for him to say, you know what, to be satisfied, be content with what happened. I mean, come on, 92 days of this. It's finally over. So you're the Warriors. I think you say, you know, we made the most of a bad situation. The only downside for the Warriors to me is that they couldn't put their team together back in July. It's too late for that. That ship sailed. That's the only real downside. Other than that, yeah, they found more money. Well, they got money, you know, and it won't hurt them in terms of finances if it's structured properly, which I'm sure it will be. So, yeah, I think JK did okay, but I think the Warriors, you know, they won the deal, I think.
DJ, was this about money, or was it about the fact that he just wants a guaranteed role on his team, which is not guaranteed? Like, we know how Steve Kerr operates. He's trying to win games. We'll see different starting lineups every other day. You may get 15 minutes today. You may get 30 minutes tomorrow. You have no idea. It's all about the flow of how the game is going for this basketball team. And Steve Kerr kind of mentioned it's like he's not guaranteed to start. We know who the guaranteed starters are. It's Jimmy, it's Dre, and it's Steph. We don't even know if Pods is going to start at the 2 guard. So at the end of the day, was this all about money, or was it about a role that he wants in terms of, hey, I want to play 30 minutes a game?
It was about money, it was about control, and it was about role. And now with this contract, you get the money where the qualifying offer would have been $7.9 million. And instead, this could really be mostly a 1-year, $22.5 million contract. If it gets ripped up, he goes to the unrestricted free agency, right. So he gets the money. The Warriors, they might feel like they have more control with the team option. And then we talk about the role. He's not going to start, not on a everyday basis by any means. He wants to be a starter. He wants to have the ball in his hands. He wants to close games. There's no guarantee that he's going to close games, and we know that on a usual basis, he will not be in the starting 5. There's nothing in this contract that says that Steve Kerr has to, well, now that you have the contract, I got to give you more minutes, give you a bigger role. No, it's still going to be run by the ways of Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler, and now Al Horford as well. But I do believe that, ironically, after the 4 years of up and down, of the 3-month saga that finally came to an end, this is when the Warriors need the best version of Jonathan Kuminga most, at least for, maybe not for a full season, but at least to get to January 15th, because you look at the ages of the Warriors, you look at the schedule that they're facing up to that first day that he can be traded, and a 23-year-old that can at the very least go out and get you 20 points, no matter what the style fit questions continue to be. He could be a huge weapon in the back of the pocket to go out and be the real team that they want to be when it's all said and done.
Yeah, Steve has made it clear that JK is not a fit with Draymond and Jimmy. There's no spacing. And so today when we talked to Steve, he talked about spacing. He loved the spacing of this team now. And so that's not good. He knows if he plays JK, Jimmy, and Draymond, that spacing shrinks up. So you might see JK starting some back-to-backs because, let's face it, Jimmy and Draymond are not going to play every back-to-back. They may mix in a few, but they got to give those guys a break because of their age. And so JK might get some starts, but those 30 minutes a night that he wants, that's going to be rare. You know, if he comes in, he's balling really well, the team is going well, he'll stay in. But there'll be nights he gets, 12 minutes or 14 minutes or 19 minutes.
I think he can make himself some money for next offseason. And that's, how do you sacrifice? How do you play? And I think he impressed a lot of people with the way he played in Minnesota after racking up DNP after DNP after DNP. It would have been very easy to see a player, after not playing over the last couple of weeks of the regular season and not playing much against the Houston Rockets in the first round, I wouldn't have been surprised if JK struggled in that Minnesota series. Like, this guy hasn't playing the third best defense. But the fact that he stayed ready in that series against Minnesota and did what he had to do to try to help that team win. Yeah, we could nitpick about rebounds and whether or not they won or not. He did what he had to do without Stephen Curry and no spacing. I think that springboard into this season to where he could maintain that professionalism and still be ready when his opportunity comes. I still think he could earn that money that he's looking for here, and also that role that he could be looking for in the future, Dalton.
Yeah, if you're the Sacramento Kings, you're the Phoenix Suns, the two teams that went out and had offers on the table for sign and trades, and then we know that next offseason there will be more teams with more cap space compared to this offseason. The timing of Jonathan Kuminga's injury, the timing of the Jimmy Butler trade, the timing of this offseason, none of it worked in his favor. But now if he can show that the mental fortitude matches his skill set, his potential, that word that still kind of hangs in the air, potential versus production, if that can all coalesce together, then he's going to go out and get his money. He's going to go out and get the role that he desires. So I think that really this puts just as equal a pressure on Jonathan Kuminga to go show that you can buy into a championship roster that is built around Steph Curry, that you can fit a role. And then on those nights where you want to have the ball in your hand, when it's a night off for Jimmy, for Steph Curry, then show us a guy that you can be. But when it's built around those core 3, core 4 guys that you can fit a role, that's only going to help him get his end goal as well. So I think that there's definitely a way that both sides win and in the end, because it's felt like an offseason of a lose-lose situation that can turn into a win-win situation as well.
Yeah, I think you look at this and, JK, the spotlight's going to be on him brighter than ever before.
No doubt.
Bigger and brighter. Because of what happened. If this had been done in July, no big deal. But because it dragged on all summer and everybody's waiting for the Warriors to do something and they can't do it. Now all of a sudden the spotlight's gigantic. So he has to perform and perform well. Or otherwise, man, it could get ugly. It could get ugly.
It already has, Monte. I mean, if you go on social media, if you say, hey, JK played okay, you got about 500 trolls coming down your timeline here. Walking down the street, what's up with JK? You going to take the money? It's going to be a question, no doubt. Everybody's going to clip if he misses a screen, if he doesn't pass the ball to Steph, if he doesn't grab a rebound, everybody's going to be hyper-focused on this young man. And I think he has to understand that, especially today. He's going to have to understand that because people are hyper-focused on his workout videos in Cleveland, Ohio. So I can't wait for him to come. He now has the 4th highest salary on the Warriors payroll behind Jimmy Butler, of course, Stephen Curry, and Draymond Green. So he walks into this locker room now, and it's time to go. The biggest question I have, fellas, how's that relationship going to be between Jonathan Kuminga and Steve Kerr? Because we know it's coming. If he does struggle early, Steve Kerr's the ultimate professional, and he has to do what he has to do as a head coach. I don't blame Steve Kerr whatsoever. He's a veteran-laden coach who's trying to win championships, and this is a high-pressure job coaching under Joe Lacob. He wants to win. This region now wants to win. So Kerr has to do what he has to do to win, and that may not involve JK sometimes here, but that is the billion-dollar question. How do those two coexist? I think it'll be professional, but the moment JK doesn't get 25 minutes, minute he doesn't get 20 minutes, will we hear from Aaron Turner? Will there be an article from Dalton Johnson? Like, how's that going to – that's my biggest question now. How can those two coexist, mainly on JK? Go ahead, Monte.
No, that's because, as we said, there's going to be hyper-focus on him. And not just his performance, but his attitude. People want to see him perform, produce, and they also want to see that he feels like he's content. They want to see that. They want to see it. If there's any sign of like moping or any complaint in the media, people are going to turn on him so quick. It's already happened in many cases.
I was going to say, have they already turned on him?
Well, some have. Oh yeah, but
loud voices.
What we have right now is a sort of you have the JK stands, and you have anybody who's not a stand is quote a hater now. It's like it really is. So
you're the number one hater, buddy. I'm kidding.
Man. Yeah, I mean,
I'm a stand. I'm a JK apologist.
That he should do and could do and doesn't do makes me a hater. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at the reality of that draft that he was in, look at the players that were drafted with him, the lottery picks that were drafted with him, and where they are. Those guys, Scotty Barnes, Cade Cunningham, Franz Wagner, all these guys have been identified as cornerstones for their franchise. Even a guy who drafted after him, Alperen Sengun, didn't get the max, but you think the Rockets going to let him go anytime soon? So, and JK has to digest all of that too. And so I understand him wanting to feel like I can do what they do. But he also has to know that he has Steph Curry on his team, and those guys don't. It's a huge difference. and he's had a hard time reconciling that. And this season is kind of his last chance. But I said last week that I would be surprised if he's on the roster when opening night. Well, now I'm going to say it again. I'll be surprised if he's on the roster after the trade deadline.
I look at the first 20 games because Steve Kerr always sees the first 20 games as that's when he can kind of see what his team is, see what direction he needs to get this team to where they want to be. And within those first 20 games, the Warriors have 5 back-to-backs. They have 2 in their first 5 games, right? So those could be opportunities for Jonathan Kuminga to go out and do what he wants to do, possibly on nights where an Al Horford has taken a night off, where Jimmy Butler might take a back seat, maybe not even a night off, but be more of a distributor. And that's when you can see, okay, is he bought in after those first 20 games? How do we look as a team with Jonathan Kuminga, with all of our guys together? And I think that's really going to be which way does the needle go? Because they need to get off to a strong start. Yeah. We know that the Western Conference is loaded. You look at that schedule, and there are long athletic teams early on in this season that Jonathan Kuminga can be a big help for. But what's he going to be when they're at full strength? Yeah. That's what I'm more interested in, even than the nights that other players might have off where he can go out and get his. What's it fully going to look like when they're together and he's trying to be a puzzle piece instead of a square peg in a round hole?
Yeah. It's a great point, Dalton, because that schedule, we discussed it when the schedule got released, the 6-game road trip in November. The 5 back-to-backs for the first 17 semi-games with an older core. They're going to need JK to play, and he's going to get an opportunity to play. Same with Moody, same with Pods, because you're right about the schedule. They have to get off to a great start. They do. In the loaded Western Conference, because there will be bumps in the road. You get through the dog days of the NBA. Guys will have to sit out. You don't want to go crazy with Stephen Curry at the age of 37, although he wants to play all 82. You got to scale back a little bit, say, hey, Steph, we need to protect you from yourself. Same thing with Jimmy and Draymond, especially battling those bigs down low with the Western Conference. And you guys talk about Şengün and Wemby and Julius Randle and all those Bulls in the Western Conference. Now with this roster intact, and let's just say JK balls out up until January 15th. And if he's balling, I don't think the Warriors will trade him. What should our expectations be now with the Golden State Warriors in 2025, 2026?
Well, I think, and Dalton, you mentioned the 20 games where Steve Kerr's looked at. That takes them up to Thanksgiving Day. Now, if the Warriors do not get off to a great start, guess who gets the blame?
JK.
Yes.
No matter what.
Yeah, because it'll be like, the chemistry's all messed up. Timing's all messed up. Guys, they look like they just met yesterday. It's going to look awful. So they've got to get off to a great start for his sake and for their season's sake. Because we talked to Steve today, and Steve said about his contract situation, he's a lame duck. This is his last year. And he's okay with that. And you look at the roster, you can kind of see why. These guys are going to be a year older next year, and it's like, really? This has to be the year. So JK has to be a part of that. And now whether they will trade him, I still believe if the right trade comes along, they would make that move. And Dalton and I were talking about this the other day. I said, do you think, for example, now I haven't looked at the numbers, but if Miami Heat said, hey, we'll give you Wiggins for Kuminga, what would the Warriors do?
Well, I know what Steve will do. I know what Steve will do.
If the right trade is there, I don't know if JK's performance will make a difference.
What if the Kings give up on Keegan Murray by that time? Because I got my eyes on Sacramento. Yeah. DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, DJ, Dennis Schroeder, Domantas Sabonis. Those dudes need the ball in their hands. So where does that leave Keegan? And then, I know JK kind of needs the ball in his hands as well. Yeah. But Sacramento may be in such love with JK because of his athleticism, because he's so young. And Scott Perry, the GM up there, says, you know what? I'm not married to Keegan Murray. A guy like that would be perfect. I mean, corner, you spot up in the corner, shoot the three, and defend at a high level. We see him defending Stephen Curry, 94 feet. Now, they're going to get torched at times against Steph. We know why. He's the chef. But a guy like Keegan Murray may be available by that time.
Yeah, his defense really impressed me last season. His shooting kind of went down a little bit last season compared to the start of his career when he was a rookie, when he's a second-year player. But yeah, of course, I mean, when you look at a Keegan Murray compared to the offers that the Warriors had on the table from the Sacramento Kings, they weren't going to take Dario Saric and Devin Carter plus some second-round picks for Jonathan Kuminga. At the end of the day, what we said at the very beginning of this offseason is that Joe Lacob was not going to lose Jonathan Kuminga for nothing. And the offers that they felt like they were getting on these sign-and-trade deals were pretty much nothing burgers in the eyes of the Warriors. So, again, this is an opportunity to for both sides to up their value, Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors. What are my expectations for the Warriors? I still expect a team that is led by Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green to always compete. This is a team that's much more built, obviously, for April and May than it is maybe even for November and December. But you got to get through October, November, January, and February before you even start thinking about April and May. So that's where the juxtaposition of the young and the old will be fascinating to watch this entire season.
Yeah, if you look at, what can they do this season? Can they get a top 6 seed and avoid the play-in tournament? I think they can, but there are so many ifs that come with that. And most of those ifs revolve around how much time Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy are on the floor. If those guys are putting in 65 to 75 games, I think they can do it. They don't want to be in a situation where they were in last year, where they had to blast out and overdrive the last 2 months of the season, and you saw what happened in the playoffs. So they got to put together, and they got to manage the squad. They got to manage minutes. That's going to be the key.
And manage the minutes as well. But also, nobody's talking about, can Podziemski take that leap? Can Moody take another leap? Can they shoot? And they did shoot better on the way to the playoffs up until they got injured. And also, I'm looking around the Western Conference, DJ, Monte. Fred VanVleet's out for the season for the Houston Rockets. I think that's a big leadership void for the Houston Rockets.
Ball handler.
Ball handler as well. Where are the LA Clippers going to be at with everything happening with that organization? And they're a lot older. Nobody's talking about that team. They've got a lot of OGs on that roster. The Lakers, Luka and LeBron. That's always going to be a storyline. Where's Cooper Flag? So the West, although it is daunting, the Warriors aren't the only team in the Western Conference with a slew of question marks.
No doubt about it. I agree with you. I agree with you totally. It's going to be fun to watch.
It could be a gauntlet full of ifs, though. Again, it's not going to be easy to get through that, but it's, again, a lot of teams, including the Warriors, have a lot of ifs, ands, or buts. But if any of those teams put it together, it could be a race worth watching every single game right now. I'm ready. I'm just ready for the season to be here finally, Bonta. Let's get it going, Monte.
I was at ballet class. I was at my daughter's ballet class doing the little twinkle toes, and the alert comes in my phone. I'm thinking, why is Bully calling me? Why is Dave Bernstein calling me? Thanks to heaven. I'm sure Dub Nation's happy that this situation has been settled, at least for the short term. JK, again, if you're just listening to the podcast here, the Dubs Talk podcast, Jonathan Kuminga agrees to a 2-year, $48.5 million deal to return to the Golden State Warriors. They can rip up the contract next summer, renegotiate a new deal. They can trade him after January 15th. So the JK saga isn't over quite yet. But at least for now, he'll join the team for training camp and be in uniform, hopefully, for the first preseason game this Sunday. As always, Dubs Talk Podcast, brought to you by Mancini Sleep World. Every mattress backed by our Rest Easy promise that of a 365-night comfort guarantee with the lowest prices and next day delivery. Visit sleepworld.com. That is sleepworld.com. Get tear-free savings and get 40% off top brands like Beauty Rest and Sleep World. Sealy, Beauty Rest and Sealy. Go ahead and shop at ManciniSleepWorld.com, sleepworld.com. For Monte, Poole, our Hall of Famer here at NBC Sports Bay Area and Warriors Insider, Dalton Johnson, our Warriors reporter here at NBC Sports Bay Area. I am Bonta Hill. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. JK is a dub. 2 years, $48.5 million. We'll see you next time, everybody.